So before we go any further, I want to give you a little bit of context about what's going on in the time of Ezekiel. Context can be very important, especially when reading a scripture like this. If you had never heard or read anything about the Christian God, and you thought, I'm going to read the book of Ezekiel, and that was your first introduction to God, well, then you'd have a very narrow and flat understanding of the nature of God. See, in Ezekiel, God is addressing his people as a parent would with his children that are going through an intervention. Because sometimes you have to raise your voice to your child in order to get through to them. If your 2-year-old waddles up to a hot stove and starts reaching out to touch it, a really calm and composed, "Now, baby, please don't do that. You might get yourself burned," is not appropriate anymore. If your teenager has hardened their hearts to your continual warnings and groundings about how they approach school or drugs, then stronger measures might need to happen in order to get through to them. Because you love them. And because you don't want to see them destroy their lives, even if it hurts them. Because you're a good parent. And because you're in it for the long run. And so by this time in history, Israel has repeatedly turned their back on God. They've hardened their hearts to his warnings and are worshiping other gods. Right around this time, historically, the Assyrians are the power in the land. And around 722 BC, they conquer the northern part of Israel and are on the doorstep of the old city of Jerusalem. But before they actually go in and conquer the holy city, the prophet Elijah goes to King Hezekiah and says, "Don't worry. I know it looks really bad right now, but this city will not fall. Because God made a promise to David that said that his kingdom shall have no end." And you know what? It didn't. In a really interesting part of his story, the Assyrians just kind of gave up and left, leaving historians struggling to find a reason other than divine intervention. Because there was really no reason why the Assyrians wouldn't have gone on and conquered Judah at that point. But fast forward about 100 years, and similar to a teenager who sees bad things happening to other people and says to themselves, that'll never happen to me. This time, Judah is not going to be okay. And the prophet Jeremiah says as much, that because you have continued to harden your hearts, this time, God is not going to save you. At some point, God allows us to lie in the bed that we have made for ourselves. And so Jerusalem is conquered, their people are deported to Babylon and scattered across the winds. And this roughly 150-year period in history is referred to as the exile. And it's very, very important to understanding the story of the Jewish people, their understanding of a Messiah and everything, this time of the exile. And it's during one of these deportations, and before Jerusalem has been completely conquered, that this prophecy takes place. That God goes to Ezekiel and gives him a vision about all the things that are about to happen to Israel. And it's not good.